Peru News Today, all you need to know about Peru.
Live Cabinet of the Solar Assistant to the Congress to sustain matters of trust. President Martín Vizcarra said that if Congress proceeds to the election of judges of the TC without first giving way to the issue of trust, it will consider the trust denied and dissolve Parliament. Key day in the Congress. The President of the Council of Ministers, Salvador del Solar, accompanied by the members of the Ministerial Cabinet, go this morning to the Congress of the Republic to support the trust issue announced by the President of the Republic, Martín Vizcarra, who seeks to modify the rules of election of the judges of the Constitutional Court, TC. Follow our minute by minute 7:45. The day begins with the arrival of the ministers of the Cabinet del Solar to the government palace. Only 4 blocks away, parliamentarians also begin to arrive at the headquarters of the Congress. 7:50 Hopefully Congress will live up to what the country needs. We need to listen, and we hope to be heard, said Minister of Development and Social Inclusion, Paola Bustamante, upon arrival. In purely constitutional terms, what will have to be done, said Gloria Montenegro, Congresswoman and Minister of Women and Vulnerable Populations. 8 o'clock The President of the Congress, Pedro Olaechea, summoned a Board of Spokespersons for today at 8:30 a.m. There it could be decided if the plenary agenda is changed to see the trust issue before the election of the magistrates of the Constitutional Court or not. 8:08 Our initial approach is that Mr. Salvador del Solar can be heard today in the afternoon, following the presentation of the bill, said Mauricio Mulder, a congressman from APRA, in dialogue with RPP Noticias. 8:11 Everything will depend on the analysis made of the possibility of making an election of the members of the TC at that time. If there is the absolute certainty that you can have more than 87 votes, I would go with everything, and the Congress agenda would not change at all. But if you don't have that certainty, why are we going to be in a position where you will not get anything at all? Mauricio Mulder adds. 8:23 Miguel Castro, alternate spokesperson for the app bench, to RPP News. If you do not have the votes to elect any member of the TC, it does not merit further discussion on this issue. 8:32 The Ministry of Women and Vulnerable Populations clarified that an alleged communication with the alleged signature of Minister Gloria Montenegro, in which permission is given to workers in their sector to attend marches against the election of the members of the TC, is false, and asked citizens not to be surprised. This false communique had been shared on Twitter as true by Luz Salgado, congressman of Huerza Popular. 8:42 President Martín Vizcarra dismisses the cabinet ministers headed by Salvador del Solar, who leave the government palace for Congress to support the issue of trust. This is not yet formally on the Congress agenda. 8:43 Salvador del Solar declared exclusively for RPP News on his departure from the government palace. It is a moment of definitions and hopefully the reason and interests of the country prevail. 8:45 Congressman Marissa Glave and Indira Hulka, New Peru, denounced that the leadership of parliament prevents them from submitting a motion requesting to cancel the election of members of the Constitutional Court scheduled for today. Glave adds that they also do not want to receive the executive's bill on the election of TC members. 8:50 The ministers, with Salvador del Solar at the head, arrive at the Congress and head towards the hemicycle. 9:25 This is the executive's project to modify the election rules of the Constitutional Court, which will be the center of the debate on the issue of trust. Martín Vizcarra and Salvador del Solar have formally asked the President of Congress, Pedro Olaechea, to be a tramitado with urgent character. 9:36 Salvador del Solar and the remains of the minister await in the chamber ambassadors of Congress to complete the Board of Spokesmen convened earlier by Pedro Olaechea. The rest of parliamentarians, those who are not on the board, begin to occupy their seat in the chamber. 9:39 It's official. Robert Acevedo, a TC candidate, declined his application through a letter addressed to Pedro Olaechea, who had proposed it. As stated in this document to which RPP News had access, the magistrate cites current circumstances and strictly personal reasons to justify his decision. 9:40 Social groups demonstrate at the crossroads of Abancay Avenue and Jiran Junin, near the headquarters of the Congress of the Republic. Some support President Martín Vizcarra, others ask for his departure. 9:45 Congresswoman Yuni Vilcatoma, Popular Force, filed a constitutional complaint against President Martín Vizcarra and his ministers before the Subcommittee on Constitutional Accusations of Parliament for alleged abuse of authority. 10 o'clock Parliamentarian Marissa Glave informs that the motion to postpone the election of the members of the TC, presented by New Peru, Frente Amplio, Bancada Liberal, Peruanos by the Cambio and United by the Republic, was admitted for processing. We demand that it be discussed at the beginning of this session, he said. 10:07, the Board of Spokespersons refused to expand the plenary's agenda so that the trust issue is seen today. Martín Vizcarra had announced the day before that in case Congress did not agree to see the issue of trust before voting to elect the members of the TC, he would proceed to dissolve Parliament. New Peru, Frente Amplio, Liberal Bank, Peruvians for the Cambio and United for the Republic voted in favor, while Olaechea and Popular abstained. 10:23, the Superior Court of Justice of Lima admitted to processing the demand for amparo filed by the Institute of Legal Defense (IDL) and another against the President of Congress, Pedro Olaechea, to suspend the process of calling to elect Constitutional Court magistrates. 10:25, upon leaving the Board of Spokesmen, parliamentarians denounced that they have not wanted the congressman to participate in the debate on the election of members of the TC. Fujimori, the APRA, and Mr. Olaechea, the bench with you have wanted to impose the decision that there is no debate. That has never been seen, said Indira Hulka, New Peru. They want to make fun of the congressman and the whole country with this decision. We are going to present a motion of censure against the board of directors, Horacio Zaballos announced. 10:30, according to the spokeswoman of New Peru, Indira Hulka, the agreement so that there is no debate prior to the vote to elect the members is a Fujimorismo trick and its allies, so that Salvador del Solar cannot participate in the full. He can participate in any plenary session, in accordance with Article 129 of the Constitution. But what has been the Fujimorismo player and his allies? They have meant that today there is no debate, that nobody speaks, no only Mr. Del Solar, but no parliamentarian can speak. That is unheard of. 10:40 congressmen are already installed in the chamber. We proceed to read the agreement of the Board of Spokesmen to proceed with the vote to elect the new members of the Constitutional Court, amid complaints and shouts from the banks opposing the management of Pedro Olaechea. 10:47, Congress will proceed to vote on the motion of censure against the Board of Directors, chaired by Pedro Olaechea, in a session that will be chaired by Cesar Vázquez, AP, which leads to the plenary session being suspended for a few minutes. 10:51, Salvador del Solar and the ministers left the Ambassadors Hall to enter the chamber of Congress. The entrance was prevented for a few minutes because the door was closed, but it finally came to fruition at 10:51 a.m. immediately. Cesar Vázquez says that the entry of the ministers was not authorized and announced the suspension of the plenary session. There are strong claims from some congressmen, others support the suspension. 11:00 Congressmen from all the benches gather around Salvador del Solar and discuss with him and among themselves. The President of the Council of Ministers and the President of Congress, Pedro Olaechea, talk to each other. Follow us in order to be updated.
Visit at www.perunewstoday.com. Also follow on Facebook and Twitter.